love this opening with Kiritsugu's hand morphing into Julian's and then finally into Shiro's, especially with how this coat makes him look like Kiritsugu but only on the surface, missing that bottom layer under the sleeve. And these minimalistic watercolor segments are so pretty. Oddly enough, Shiro and Kiritsugu both work really well in this art style. Also, this is a great use of CG. The interior of the car looks great and doesn't stick out from the 2D characters. Man, speaking of CG, look at the way the dust floats in the air in this shot. Not only is the perspective great, but man, that stuff is rendered so good. I like how Kiritsugu just says this about himself and not Shiro, like he's still holding on to hope that his son could become what he never was. Again with the perspective here. It would have been so easy for them to just start from this frame and not do that zoom out, but nobody here's skipping steps. They actually took the time to render the whole city. For the third time already, this film's cinematography is amazing. Beautiful shot. And speaking of beautiful shots, seriously, just look at the way Miyu's eyes shine against the shadows behind her. They're like two mini suns, and you know that's coming from her and not the sun itself because of the way she's facing. And then there's these purple accents, and God, it's so good. Silverlink is already amazing at using color, but this is some of my favorite work from them. That's gotta be the first time a wish in this franchise has ever worked right. And this shot with Kiritsugu looming in the background, showing clearly how much closer Shiro's going to be to Miyu than him. Loving the contrast between Miyu's warm colors and her comparatively cold expression. Befitting his character, Shiro's quick to think of Miyu as family, just like how Kiritsugu thought of him. See, the implication here is that the same thing happened to Shiro as in the main timeline, but I enjoy how it's kept a little vague so we can fill in the differences ourselves. Also, if you look, Shiro's wearing a black shirt here, pretty similar to his eventual getup later. I love the reflections in the polished floor here. Bonding. Good to see this version of Shiro still loves to cook. Also, we just went for nearly a whole minute of no dialogue, yet still built character and bonded Shiro and Miyu. That's impressive. And while Shiro's bonding with Miyu, Kiritsugu's thinking of nothing but how to use her. Great contrast. And all of a sudden, Miyu's turned into a ticking clock for Kiritsugu, which Shiro subconsciously just can't accept. The first time since the opening that we hear Noriaki Sugiyama's Shiro is after Kiritsugu's death, which is appropriate considering what a call to grow up that would be for him. And of course, the first thing we see him doing is fixing a heater. More contrast here, with Shiro making natural green tea and Julian taking the artificial route with a snack bar. I can't really decide if Julian fills more of an Issei or Shinji role here. On the surface, he's a lot like Issei, but in terms of being a fake best friend, he definitely seems a little like Shinji. He even looks like if you mash the two together. And you know I love me some Shiro archery. I enjoy how much more forward Sakura is here. Definitely nice seeing her embrace her attraction to Shiro. Foreshadowing. Brief, but great pouty Miyu. Anime food looks tastier than real food. Also, between this and the 5 years past, I love how clear it is that Shiro cares more about Miyu than using her. It doesn't matter if he fails to use her powers, because either way, this is the part of her that matters to him. And just one moment of staring at the stars brings him right back to this conversation with Kiritsugu. This version of their stargazing is easily my favorite one. I love how upset Shiro gets when Kiritsugu talks about how hard it was to be who he wanted to be. Because even though that's life, Shiro's still a kid, and he doesn't know that yet. It sets him up perfectly to change later. Look at these Carnival Phantasm references! These expressions. The characters feel so alive, so emotional, so human. It's kind of unreal considering the limitations Silverlink has when compared to studios like Ufotable. Heck yeah, Shiro can do magic, just make a tape measure into a sword, nothing to see here. Fittingly, even though Shiro still calls him Dad, Miyu refers to Kiritsugu as, well, Kiritsugu. Another spectacular shot. A great shot paired with a really sweet line. Again, with the expressions, Miyu's gone from looking robotic and cold to an actual human being. It's so great. Plus, one of my favorite details in the movie, as soon as Miyu wishes to be Shiro's sister, she suddenly gets matching eyes to his, giving us a visual cue that it did, in fact, work. Sakura being best girl. Foreshadowing. Please just let my boy smile. Again, with a long segment totally free of dialogue, just letting the gorgeous OST carry the movie. More watercolor visuals, easy win. And more fantastic character animation, it practically oozes internal conflict. That's quite a literal way to break Julian's mask. Yet another great shot with the tape measure sword. And our first look at displacement magic does not disappoint. And horrifying as it is, Julian's own blood acts like a mark proclaiming he's taken Miyu. Noriaki Sugiyama is always a win. Did I mention brutal? I also love how we're told here that the Ainsworths do, in fact, still have the Gilgamesh card, setting up Sakura to fail later. Joji Nakata is always a win. More awesome cinematography and perspective at a Dutch angle. And more excellent use of color with the stained glass in the background. Close enough. And there it is, Shiro's deal with the devil. Plus, to follow it up, Shiro's villain from here on out becomes a phantom of the very hero he used to idolize. And there's another huge difference for you. Kiritsugu was totally uninvolved in the Grail Wars in this timeline. It's even possible the one before what happened with Miyu could have been what caused the tragedy that Shiro survived too. And the floodgates break. Shiro finally lets loose his frustration with all the fake things in his life. A fake smile, fake father, fake best friend, fake ideal, and now the only one of those things he wanted, his fake sister, which finally became real because she loved him so much, has been unceremoniously taken away. Great scene. That'll kick you right in the heart. Noriaki Sugiyama is always a win. And there's the scar to tell us Shiro's changed, his trademark eye bags. Such a relatable and small detail to add in, not unlike Kiritsugu's too. Oh my god, so many wins. This OST, Shiro using keys, the black coat, everything about this scene. Yeah, we've all been there, buddy. Happy coincidence! This whole scene is both tragic and heartwarming. Huge reason I warmed up to Sakura. She's so good in this movie. It's true, the small things in life are super important. It's almost like that's the point of this movie. Another great shot just of a character's eyes.
That's rough, buddy.
Love. Another gorgeous shot. Hate, 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 hate. Ingenuity. What a terrifying, unique version of Hassan that's still easily recognizable as well as distinct. Creepy. True, but also literally true. And foreshadowing. Love, again. And that's where you find out this isn't your typical Illya movie. Once again, great use of color here. Not even a body to mourn, just a card left behind as Shiro's only chance to pursue his dreams. You helped him in the end, Sakura, even if you never knew it. I'm caught between loving the madness of this Shinji and hating his writhing guts. Super well-written character. It's hard to even tell if he's saying that just to taunt Shiro, or if he actually forgot for a second there, or somehow both. And more extremely visceral oils in the exact opposite spectrum from Miyu's watercolor. I love how their treatment of their own sisters is such a point of contrast for these two. This is why there's no fire in Shiro's memories of the tragedy from 10 years ago. It's why the fire from Archer's marble is totally absent. That moment isn't what made his marble look how it does. This one is. Absolutely great scene. Yes! Seriously, look at this redesign! It's such a departure from the normal Archer look, but it so totally works! The cloak, the headband, the armor, and the yellow fire still in Shiro's eyes. And another great shot just of a character's eyes. Brutal and so satisfying. I love how Shiro spends most of this fight just strategically planting Kancho and Bakia copies all over Shinji's big dumb body until we get this. Another awesome use of the blue magic circuit lines in his eyes. Even in death, Sakura still continues to save his life. What a moment of clarity. The cherry blossoms were a great touch. And quite a subversion of expectations. Also, notice how the swords didn't just explode, they overedged so big that they sank right to the ground. How cool is that? I gotta hand it to Hiroshi Kamiya for his performance of Shinji. It really brought him to life and made the character's madness work.
Okay, but not because you told me to.
I really like how Miyu's eyes don't look like Shiro's anymore because her not hearing the rest of his explanation is making her doubtful of whether or not they still count as family now. Good detail. Another great shot revolving around the hideout where Miyu's being kept. It's cool to see another application of this magecraft. Just like how Shiro's projection has some sort of use when applied right, even displacement has some really neat uses at advanced levels. This montage. The way every fight has a unique color palette, the underused characters getting some screen time, the way Mystic Eyes of Petrification and Caress and Medusa are visualized. God, there's just so much to praise. Did I mention Noriaki Sugiyama is always a win? More cool combinations of magecraft and servant powers that really make the card seem worth your time. And a seriously creative way to use Overedge. Killer choreography. That's what happens when you try to one-hand that sword. Yet another fantastic shot. This conversation. Everything from the expressions to the banter to the positions of good and evil seemingly assigned to the wrong characters, to the parallels of Julian and the other Shiros, to more Miu watercolor and talking about family, to his reflection on Kiritsugu and even his literal reflection getting broken in the puddle as he drops an iconic one-liner and totally turns Shiro's character on its head. What a scene! Let's add another beautiful set to the mix. And as her perception of why Shiro took her in is challenged, you finally see his eyes in hers one more time, even though his are so tired and drained. Who does this movie think it is with shots this good? And just to add one more to that long line of people who all wish for their children's well-being, so too does Shiro for his own sister. This is why so many people who don't even like normal Shiro relate to Miu vs. Shiro. He's a real person, down to earth even by the standards of our own world. All he wants is to protect his family. Another revolving camera as Miu starts to teleport away, accompanied by some beautiful CG visuals. And before he can lose her again, Shiro actively gives her up to a world better than what he can give. Self-sacrifice if ever it's been seen. And in case we didn't get enough awesome servant fights, nice visual here with Shiro's silhouette hinting at him sort of being the villain in Julian's story right now. And in case anyone forgot whose movie this is, I love the ghostly look of these swords as they spawn in. And you can even see Angelica in this sword's reflection here. Iconic. Noriaki Sugiyama is once again always a win, and here you finally start seeing Archer's characteristics bleed into Shiro's face. And now you see the white sneaking its way into the ends of Shiro's hair in two more gorgeous close-ups. The jacket's coming off, boys, you know what that means. Also, notice that he uses the chant with the opposite arm from what its Unlimited Blade Works self does. This chant is just so perfect. This haunting rendition of Emiya's theme building in the background. This Ro Ayas, the slightly augmented chant with the line about striking diamond dust. Unreal quality with this scene. 10 out of 10. And then not only do we get to see Angelica swinging around a Buster Sword, but we get this shot. Another stunning and creative use of color, changing Shiro's eyes to a striking green as the rest of the world fades to gray. Who does this movie think it is? The way the color slowly bleeds back into Angelica first, then the world around her, and finally Shiro is just, so good. Snowstorm Unlimited Blade Works. And he's not wrong, they're literally the marks of every heroic spirit who left those weapons behind. Ryoko Shiraishi kills channeling Gilgamesh here. Perfect fit for this character. More fun color contrast as the cool blue of Shiro's marble stands at odds with the hot gold of Angelica's Gate of Babylon. Another creative way of combining magecraft and servant powers that turns an otherwise killer move into a totally survivable mistake. Awesome aerial combat. Then the flames from Sul Sagana light the battlefield on fire, turning the snowstorm even more chaotic and confusing. This alone is enough to make Angelica more likable to me than Gil. See, when she knows she should use it, she doesn't hesitate to break out the big guns. Sword. This slow build as a few stray swords fall early, just hinting until you see this absolute blanket of rising blades cover the moon with a tornado of metal to meet the harsh red spiral of Enema Elish. God, I love this fight. And even as he loses the clash, Shiro just smiles while the light changes to blue and he thinks about why he fought this hard. Just in case you're wondering how he survives this, my personal theory is that he just let the marble get destroyed and that somehow kept him alive. Don't know, not super important. Point is, Shiro's alive. Yes, he did. Even if his duel with Angelica was somewhere between a loss and a standstill, all he was fighting for was to buy time for Miu. By stalling long enough for her to escape in his own way, he did win. Honestly, who expected this movie to be so good? I mean, obviously if you read the manga you'd know, but I can't help but find myself continually surprised by how solid Oath Under Snow is. Sure, the animation isn't quite as good as what the Ufotable adaptations bring to the table, but Silverlink's fantastic use of color totally makes up for it, IMO. The pacing is breakneck yet tolerable, and the film is, in a word, just refreshing. I would happily watch a whole show about the Holy Grail War Shiro fights here, and while I'm glad that we got these snippets animated at all, I'm still hungry for more. Don't interpret that the wrong way, it's not really a complaint, it's just, I can't stand Prisma Illya 9 times out of 10. That's why this catches me so off guard, because I love this movie in spite of that. Yes, there's a little bit of context missing here and there, Fate is notoriously bad at explaining itself, but whatever, you know? I still adore everything this film was. I'm happy that it managed to be so much better than I thought it would be. As for why I'm doing this kind of video in the first place, well, in case you never watched his videos before, this is actually a format created by CinemaWins, and I've been a huge fan of his videos for a long time now. The thing is, the likelihood of anime ever getting covered on that channel, let alone something as obscure even in its own fandom as Oh Thunder Snow, let's just say it's not great, so I'm taking it upon myself to win these things. I'm aware of CinemaWins too, which spoilers y'all should totally check out, but I think my style is different enough from his, and I'm planning on covering different enough sources that I don't feel like I'd be stealing his thunder at all. I already have EGA videos planned for quite a while into the future, and I'm really excited to make this a running series on my channel from here on out. Don't panic, I'm still making all the same things I was before. I'm just adding this to the list. In the future, I'm hoping that I won't have to edit a good chunk of these, so if that works out, I also won't need to worry too much about them eating production time I spend on other projects. Also, I can advertise on these, so that's nice. Speaking of which, you undoubtedly notice this footage has a wonderful filter over it. That is not going to change. I do have to protect these videos, and copyright claims are incredibly difficult to fight, so I do hope the precautions I'm taking won't bother you guys. With that being said, I do believe we have a verdict to reach. Special thanks to Paladin-tier patrons The 8th Sphinx and VideoGamer75, and Exorcist-tier patron Mikkle Snorf.
And reminded of forgetfulness, I reach a bit too far to be burned again by purple flame once more, to be touched by violet tongues of fire and sparks of